Hello there, I'm Koosh, and yes, full screen today, because I'm just chatting. I hope you've had a wonderful morning, and you're nice and cozy. I just wanted to talk about guides and the future of them. So the future of the guides. In the back of my mind, I always had a plan to do a guide for all three of the tank specs. I consider myself a tank main, and I love tanking. I know on this channel, I DPS a lot, and that's honestly because in like my free time, it's like, oh, I can DPS. But tanking will always have my heart and my soul. So with that being said, I made the shield tech guide. I kind of want to revamp my old shield tech guide into the new like formula that I started doing with like the pyro guide, the Viru guide, and so on. But all the info, if I remember correctly, all the info in the shield tech guide, it's the same. So if it gets to a point where things like drastically change, then I will update that guide. I know myself. Once I run out of DPS specs, I will at some point revamp that guide. But today I really just want to talk about my plans for the guides and where we're going to be going next. Transparency is very important to me. Like every time I talk about devs or something like that, like behind the scenes in video games, I really appreciate transparency. So it started with Pyro, because if you know me, you know I love me some PT. And there was a comment once saying, Koosh, please make a Pyro guide. And I thought, you're a fucking genius. And then I started working on the Pyro guide, and then they nerfed superheated fuel. And a part of me lost motivation. I'm a little embarrassed to say, but when I first saw about that nerf, like my heart was, it's ruined. This beautiful, great thing that I love is ruined. I realized it's still PT. I'm still going to scorch. Everything is still going to die at a remarkably fast rate because it's fucking PT. But the real reason I kept forward with the guide is because I saw a lot of comments saying, hey, please finish the guide. Please keep going. So must keep going. Thank you. So at first it was always just like, I'm going to do tanks. I'm going to do pyro. Easy peasy. And then my head went to, oh, well, Viru and Annie are in like the top 3 DPS specs along with Pyro. So I'm like, oh, I should do those. Now I'm sorry, I go off on tangents because I get thoughts and like I don't script shit, so it's just Annihilation. I would have probably done that guide second or third. So okay, my process for these guides. The guides I've done so far, I've had a very good understanding of how the spec plays and how they work. It's important to me that I give you the right info on how to optimize. I have this problem where I feel like I over-explain stuff, but I think when that comes to guides, it's okay. Okay, I'm going to loop back to Annihilation, but first, I need to start with my philosophy on how I approach these guides. One thing that held me back a little bit was I was worried my guides were going to be so long and then people would be like, oh, there's been times where it's like I'm looking for something on YouTube and I'll click like the shortest video because I just get to the point, right? Just get to the fucking point. I did the biggest, I think, mistake you can make, especially when it comes to like online content, is I'm going to try to make everybody happy. It's just an impossible task. So then I transitioned from, oh, I want everybody to just, all right, I'm going to go from the perspective of someone who knows nothing about this spec and how I would want to learn. But then I also broke it up into chapters where if it's like, hey, I just want the rotation, there you go. But I wanted to go from A to B, which is everything I think you should know about the spec and just all the little important things. I do absolutely enjoy making them. I love doing like the behind the scenes research, talking with the friend that's helping me with the guide. I love this game and it's a lot of fun to just nerd out and talk about it. Another thing I love about doing these is I get to also, as well as nerd out and chat about a game I love, I also get to scratch my creative itch. Now, I know that goes against what I said earlier, where it's like, just get to the point. But I love doing these little cinematic like character intros. That just really helps scratch that itch for creativity and my storytelling passion. I've made live action short films and stuff very similar. So that kind of thing is just right up my alley. That really started as, oh, I just think this would be like a really cool idea. Because every video starts with me saying hello there. So how cool would that be if we start the Pyro guide with Nikita saying hello there? Like she's the one presenting the info. And that turned into me really enjoying that process. And I thought, well, for all the guides, let's have a little intro and introduce this character. And my friend Alyssa, who did the voice for Nikita for me, she's an incredible actress who I very much admire. I met her in college and we've stayed connected and have just worked on many projects together. So it was awesome that she was on board to help out with this project. So to loop everything back in, I started with how can I make everybody happy? And that was just a terrible idea. Because like I said, myself, if I'm looking for something, most of the time, I just want that shortest video to just get to the point. And then I know, like, looking at mine, it's like, oh, God, the IO guide's 50 minutes. Oh, why the fuck does this need to be 50 minutes? Oh. But then I told myself the guide is going to be as long as the guide needs to be to give out all the information that I think is important and all the information that my friend who's peer reviewing thinks that it's important. For IO specifically, there's like that basic rotation and then there's the more advanced rotation. And what I noticed was when I switched over to that more advanced rotation, my DPS was skyrocketing. So Cliff, who helped me out with the guide and helped peer review the guide, was like, I think you should teach both. And that was my instinct to teach both. So when both of our instincts were, hey, you should teach both, I'm going to teach both. But if you're teaching two things, it's important to be like, here's why we have A, here's why we have B, here's why this one is better, but this one's a little bit easier if you're brand new. Now I'm going to loop back to Annie. I know I'm just rambling here. I know it does damage. I know it has incredible raid utility. There's a couple different ways to play it. So then my head is like, oh, do I want to do an hour-and-a-half video where I fully explain these? And then when I look in the Theory Crafter Discord to do a little bit of research and just kind of make sure I'm on the same page, Annie just feels overwhelming. I know at the heart of it, you apply 2 stacks of Deadly Saber and then Rend. And also why I kind of lowered that one on the list is the two people that I was going to pick their brain was Roscoe and Gar, and they're not really playing anymore right now. I could ramble on for hours. I'm going to stop myself, and I'm just going to talk about what's going to be next. So Madness will be the next one, 100%. I'm going to be honest, I wasn't planning on doing Madness because I've never played Madness or like Lightning. I have one Sork that I have never in my life taken to a Master Mode Flashpoint or a raid. I don't play it. But clearly, that is the one that is wanted the most. So you ask and you shall receive, but I need to learn it first. And thankfully, Cliff knows Madness very well. He helped me out with the IO guide. So in that sense, having that person to bounce ideas off of and be like, hey, does this make sense? Does this not make sense? Is this something I could explain better? It's really nice, and I have that person, thankfully. So thank you, Cliff. Also, quick thanks to Gar, Scooby, Roscoe, and Cliff for all helping me out with the other guides. So Madness will be next, and then I have a pool of just other classes I would like to do at some point. That's Hatred, NG, AP, Leth, Rage, and Annie. In no specific order, with Annie probably being closer to the bottom there. I want to do those specs. 2 that I'm kind of is Lightning and Conch. 2 that are like below are Marksman and Arsenal. Just the sad truth, reality of the situation is they're not really the best for Nightmare raiding. And I'm sorry, but the spec I will never, ever make a guide for is Deception. If I'm being honest, I don't want to leave you completely hanging. If you do watch my videos and you are a Deception enjoyer or a Deception main, first off, I'm sorry. But if you want a guide for that, here you go. Spam Voltaic Slash until something glows. Then click the glowing thing and then spam again. If there's a lot of things glowing, just click them all and then continue your Voltaic Slash spam. Sorry if this video is a incoherent mess. I'm just going to recap real quick. Madness will be next. Hatred, NG, AP, Rage, Annie, and Leth. Those are on my list of going to be probably doing very quickly after Madness. Lightning and Conch, maybe when I'm done with those others. Marksman and Arsenal, possible. Deception, never. I do want to do the tank guides in my formula that I have now, but I don't really heal, so I don't see myself ever doing healing guides. In terms of raid guides, I've always wanted to do video guides for all the raids in this game, but I know myself and they'll be like 3-hour videos. But also one of my buddy Drip is making toolboxes. I think that's the correct term for it, for the raids, and they're like very advanced guides. They're in like written form with like PowerPoints, and I know he's in the process of doing those, so I will absolutely share those and keep you posted on those. Because I remember when I started like playing the game again and looking into raids, there's info out there, but it's kind of scattered or maybe a little outdated. But I'll definitely keep you updated on those tooltips. And again, more guides are coming. And thank you all for the continued love and support. I love you all so much, and thank you for watching. Mwah.